I know he has a lot of things going on. Okay, so Mr. Anselm is here with us. Yay! All right. Okay, guys. Happy Nurses Week. Happy Nurses Week. I don't know if I actually saw the theme of this year's Nurses Week, but the one that I saw from NAM was like the future of nurses and everything. Well, I don't know if Nigeria actually wants the nursing profession to succeed. I pray that some people during their conference will just, let the Holy Spirit take over and let them talk and scatter the place and tell them what they need to do. Because I feel within me that there are some points that we're missing. The Minister of Health was talking in Arise TV, the Minister of States for Health, something like that, was talking in Arise TV, and he was saying every single thing that we have been crying about. Leverage on the nursing profession, leverage on the population of Nigeria, grow the economy with exporting people that are, in fact, that's not our topic for today. So we're going to go straight into our topic for today and leave the verification issue for another day, okay? We're not going to talk about that today. We'll just go straight into the program that we have for today. So today we have a colleague, a friend, and a brother, someone that has been with us through the thick and through the thin. And then he's here in the US. He's doing well for himself. When I mean doing well, I mean he is doing well for himself. And it was difficult to catch him. And at the same time, I felt guilty to have interrupted his program. And that's why we fixed it for Tuesday, because that's the only time we could find in his program to bring him here. So today we are here, and we are here with him live and direct. So he's here to give us a little bit of overview about how to get into the military, what you need to do, and things you need to, do. He himself is in the military and he's doing well, and he will be giving us more info about that. Okay, so but for today, for the purpose of introduction, his name is Anselm Onyeneke. You can see the American thing on his back. So he's Anselm Onyeneke. He's a very, very proud Nigerian. He came in here just as we all did, and he has been doing exploits ever since he came. I don't want him to be kidnapped, so I'm not going to say everything that he has been doing. So guys, okay guys, so I'm Mr. Anselm, you're welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. So just to give you a little bit of insight, so the people that we have here, we are 44 now, good. So the people that we have here are all registered nurses. Majority of them have passed NCLEX, and some are still in the process of writing their NCLEX. And one thing that binds us together is that we like information. We always look for people who will give us information, because I believe that once you have information, you are one step ahead of someone who's going to be knocking at every door, doing trial and error. You are one step ahead because you know the next step to take, being that you've heard from somebody. All right. So today we're privileged to get you here today to give us insight about the US military. We know there are so many benefits, but a lot of people don't know how to get in. A lot of people don't know the benefits. So we just want to hear from you today. First of all, I will want you to do an introduction of yourself. Maybe there's a way you want it to be done that I didn't do right now. So you can give us a little bit of intro about yourself, and then we can go from there. I will ask you a few questions, then you can, branch off to anything that you prepared for us today. Okay?
Okay, that's fine. So, essentially, there's no serious introduction I have to make again. We have done all the introductions. My name is Anselm Onyeneke. I started as a registered nurse in Nigeria. I worked for about 10 years in Nigeria before I left Nigeria in 2019. I came over here to the US, continued my nursing practice here in the US as a registered nurse. I also branched into the armed forces, the US Army here where we stay here. I'm a reservist in the military. So because in the military you can either be an active member, you can be a reserve, you can be in the National Guard. They are different. They are different things. So I'm a reservist in the U.S. Army, which also allows me to practice my profession. And I'm still a psychiatric and mental health nurse practitioner here in the US. What else? I think that is basically me when it comes to profession and everything. I've been in the US now for about, I think this is my 50th year, I think so. I came in 2019, so this is my 50th year.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's all
Awesome.
about the introduction.
All right. So thank you very much for that intro. So, quick question. So now you said you're in the military. You're in the military, and you're also working as a registered nurse or as a mental health nurse practitioner. So how are you able to merge the two? Is it allowed? You know.
Yeah, so being a reservist in the US Army is very flexible, right? Because reservist is just like a part-time job in the army. So when I mean reservists, now these are people that we usually train one weekend in a month, and in a year there are 2 weeks we take out in a year for what we call annual training. Those 2 weeks we can go anywhere, we can go to any country to do our training, we can go to any other base to do our training. Then when I talk about the one weekend in a month, this could be maybe the last weekend of the month, or any weekend in that month they could just pick up. It could be on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It could be on a Saturday and Sunday. Some days they could extend it to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for you to go do your military drill. The drill is all about still, instilling that military drills, the training, exercises. If there are paperwork you need to do, you do those paperworks. If there are some advanced training you also need to do, you do those things. So that's just basically it. Then other days in the month you can do your civilian job, like in my workplace, which cuts across the US, right? They have so much respect and for the military, so they are obliged to allow you to have those weekends in a month for the military.
Mm.
And where I work, they actually place me on off duty whenever I tell them, oh, these days I have to use it for the military. They have no option than to give me my off days on those days. Even the 2 weeks, right? They have no option than to give me those 2 weeks. And when I was actually going for my training lasted for about 4 months. They actually, they took me off they placed me on military leave for those 4 months, and when I came back, they paid me in arrears what they were supposed to pay me within that period of time. So it was quite a huge sum of money, because check out your money as a registered nurse. I didn't work for 4 months, and I came, they gave me the bulk, even though the taxes, the
Mm.
Uncle Sam took
Yeah.
some of the money. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Boys.
so that's
Wow.
basically what reserve is about.
Mm. So now.
And also, sorry, also in the reserve, there are times your unit might be deployed to any country. Could be for nine months. It could be for 1 year to actually carry out some activities. There could be act as a supporting supporting unit to whatever unit is stationed in that country, to help them carry out some work that they are doing. It depends on the part of the company you are assigned to in the military. It depends on your MOS. When I mean MOS, I mean the job you are doing for the military. For instance, let's say there's somewhere let me just use that a country in Africa for an example. There's somewhere a country in Africa that the US Army is providing support, let's say health support, right? And you are your MOS is related to health in the army. Your unit is deploying to assist them carry out those health activities in that country. For instance, you can pick up any, let's say, Ebola or whatever. It might not be Ebola, but whatever support you are going there to give to the country.
Mm,
The your unit is deployed there, and you do that job the way it's supposed to be done for that period of time. You're supposed to be there, and when it's done, you come back to your job in the US here. And believe me, your job knows all these things. They understand all these things, so they are obligated to let you attend to your military functions.
mm.
Come back to your civilian job when you are done.
Awesome. So I've worked with people in the military actually. So I know you guys enjoy. When I say enjoy, they can actually come to, the person that makes the schedule and say, well, I have an assignment. They called me, and they will just release them because this is national assignment. It's not. It's if you can't hold them down. You understand? So, but the thing I don't know is the military paying you and you also earning the money as a civilian? And when you earn your money as a civilian, do you give it to the military? Like those, I know Reverend sisters, they can work, but when they work, their money goes to the convent. So is it like that?
Oh, so it's not the same way. The like each workplace have their policies, right? Where I work, they have their policy. When you're out on military assignment and you exhaust your PTO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to use your PTO to apply for
Mm-hmm.
that leave. When you exhaust your PTO, by obligation, they have to pay you whatever difference it is the army was paying you. Because you could be working in a place that they pay you a lot of money compared to what the army pays you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the army does not pay wonderfully well more than what some civilian jobs pay.
Mm-hmm.
As a nurse, my civilian job pays me much more than what the army pays me. It might be different in some people's case, depending on your rank in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also depending on your position in your civilian job. So it could differ. But the thing is this: when you're on leave, that has to do with cutting into your time at work and all that. Your work is expected to pay you the difference between what the military is paying you and what you are
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be receiving normally, and you are not what whatsoever or what for any reason you are not supposed to pay the military with what you earn in your civilian job. Is not. I've never heard of that.
I'm
It
just
has never
asking.
happened to me. I've never heard of that.
I'm asking from the religious point of view.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
understand.
now, yeah, why the U.S. Army? Why not Navy? I don't know. I think I know there is Air Force and there's Navy and there's Marine. Why not all those ones? Why Army? You like to fight?
So So military is military. Military is military, right?
Right, right.
And when you come to the military, there are different branches,
Mm-hmm,
which you have. Well, that's where the army comes, the navy comes, the air force comes. Some people like the air force
mm,
because the air force. One thing with the air force is, they are like the U.S. Army. They are the number one point of like they are the combatants. Like they are the foot soldiers. You understand? The training they undergo is quite different from what the Navy undergo.
mm-hmm,
Navy and is also quite different from what the Air Force undergoes.
mm-hmm,
As a matter of fact, the training of the U.S. Army is more tedious than that of the Navy and the Air Force. And the U.S. Army is the biggest organization in the world. Is bigger by far bigger than the Navy, by far bigger than the Air Force. Opportunities in the U.S. Army is more. The money allocated to the U.S. Army is more compared to the Air Force and the Navy, but because of the number of personnel the U.S. Army has,
mm-hmm,
right, and that there's still a disadvantage in that too.
mm-hmm,
You understand? It could be
mm-hmm.
an advantage, it could be a disadvantage. Now, for the Air Force, the from what I know, their quality of life is actually better than that of the US Army. Why I say so is that because of course you can't compare foot soldiers, what they go through,
Mm.
to what the Air
Flying the
Force
jets.
go through. Yeah, you know, even though like foot soldiers are the ones that are going to do the final job.
Mm.
Let's say for instance, with the war in Israel or with the war in Russia, right? The
Mm.
Air Force must have done their job by what they do is they go there and bombard, like,
Mm.
what they have to do, bring down
Mm.
buildings and all that. But it doesn't end there. Foot
The foot
soldiers have to
soldiers as
go in,
well.
and, but still, the army, like there are different functions in the army.
Mm.
Now, when you're in the army now, if you are not, let's say, in the infantry, or you are, there are combatants in the army,
Mm.
and there are still other companies in the army. For instance, you have the medical side of the army.
Mm.
Even though your primary duty as a US Army is to kill, to have the gun, you must have a gun, you must be trained to use a
Mm.
gun, and you must be trained to kill.
Mm.
But there are still some primary assignments you have to do. Like there are clergies, there are what they call these people? And what's the right word to use for this? What they call these clergies? Huh?
Chaplains.
Yeah,
Chaplains.
there are chaplains in
Mm.
the army.
Mm.
Those chaplains, they have their own work to do. Now, if there's war, they will not go to the war front. That's
Mm.
not their primary assignment. Then in the medical field too, the nurses and the doctors in the medical field, they are well protected because they are the ones to treat the injured soldiers.
Mm.
So most times they are not in the war front. Instead, they send medics. They
Mm.
send medics to offer first aid, then
Mm.
pull out the soldiers to the base, or to, where they'll be treated by the doctors and the nurses.
Mm.
You get the point.
Yeah.
Now, the engineers, there are engineers in the army. There are different engineers, electrical engineers. There are, so those ones go there. Like when there's war, you want to do something. Those ones go there to construct the basis, or to construct
Mm.
the places the
Like the
army is going to
hideouts.
utilize,
Mm.
for the period of time they are going to be stationed in that place.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So there are different functions.
Mm.
But the main combatants, there are main combatants that go to fight when there's war. Those ones are the ones that carry guns. So when you hear army, why choosing what you want to do, your MOS,
Mm.
when it's explained to you, you know the one you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You could decide, oh, I want to be a nurse cop,
Mm.
which is the nurse in the army. I want to be a physician in the army. I
Mm.
want to be an engineer in the army. I want to be a chaplain.
Mm.
Even there are people in the army. There are U.S. Army members whose job is just to
Mm.
cook for the yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so
That's
all
good.
these things, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'll ask maybe two more questions and I will let you just, and then I'll ask our other people will still ask their own questions. So I want to take you back a little bit to the requirements. What do you need to do to get in? And then the second part of that question is, can somebody who come here on maybe a visit visa, somebody from Nigeria apply to join?
So even though the U.S. military, they need members, but they
Mm.
have criteria. They have criterion.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when I wanted to join the U.S. Army, when I wanted to join I think I explored both the Air Force, Navy, and the U.S. Army. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Air Force, first of all, they will ask you because you have to reach out to a recruiter, and recruiters are everywhere in the states. First of all, they are going to ask you, are you a U.S. citizen, or are you a permanent resident? Now, if you're a US citizen, your entry could be different from a permanent resident. A US citizen is allowed to go through the officers route, the commission officers route, right? But
Mm,
as a permanent resident, they're not going to allow you to go through the commission of officers route, because that route requires a different requirement altogether. Like they have to be able to say, yeah, this person is a US citizen. That's why we are commissioning him, right?
mm,
He has to undergo some security clearances.
mm,
You understand? Because commission officers, you have a level of security clearance that
mm,
um an enlisted and personnel that does not have. So as a permanent resident, you have to go through the enlisted personnel route.
mm,
Now, being an enlisted personnel, you have the private first class, you have the specialist and corporal and all that, right?
mhm,
Now, those ranks depends on your education level. Let's
mm,
say if you are a graduate, the highest rank of the enlisted personnel you get is the specialist, which is actually the highest rank of the enlisted personnel. Before they could make you a corporal if they see that you have that leadership qualities in you.
mhm,
And after that, you can now move over to the non-commissioned to be a non-commissioned officer.
mm,
Now, being a non-commissioned officer is different from, like, that's the route the an enlisted personnel go through
mm,
after you are promoted from E4, which is a specialist. They make you a sergeant. Sergeant is the first step to the non-commissioned officer route. Now, as a sergeant, or as a non-commissioned officer, you're a backbone of the army. You're a backbone of the army. You supply advice to the commissioned officer on how to carry out an operation. You also train the U.S. Army personnel. You are in charge of training the U.S. Army personnel. You are in charge of supplying, giving advice to commissioned officers on how to go about things. Like, you are the backbone. You have more information than any other person in the army, depending on your rank as an NCO. Then the commissioned officer is all about leadership. They basically are the leaders in the U.S. Army. They have that leadership role, and that's basically how it's done in the army. But going back to your question, did they answer your question?
Yeah, it did actually. Yeah, so the next one is now, I know that when I was saying I didn't introduce you well, what I was referring to is, I know if you come to the military base, they would salute you with some kind of greeting. So, is it what level do you get into if you're a registered nurse um that has done maybe a BSN or something like that? What rank?
So if you are a citizen, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to get into those high ranks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you are not a citizen, no matter the level of education you have to start as an enlisted personnel. And when you start as an enlisted personnel, they give you a rank of a specialist
Mm-hmm.
because of your education level.
Mm-hmm.
So after the specialist, the next rank is for you to be a non-commissioned officer, which is a sergeant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, when you join the army, they give you your citizenship immediately.
Wow.
It's now left for you to decide to be a commissioned officer or not.
Mm-hmm.
And also your age plays your age is a factor too. Now, your age is a factor, and also your profession is a factor too. For instance, if you are a registered nurse, or let's say you're a nurse practitioner, and you join the army without being a citizen, right? You
Mm-hmm.
join the army, they give you the specialist rank.
Mm-hmm.
Specialist rank, you are still an enlisted personnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you get your citizenship maybe 2 months after you join the army.
Mm-hmm.
It's quick to get. Once you are a US Army, they are obligated to make you a citizen.
Wow.
So and they give you all resources necessary for you to achieve that. You have a dedicated phone number you can always call to follow up your application and things like that. But you have to do the process. They won't do it for you. They'll just guide you and give you all resources necessary for you to achieve that. Um, when you become an enlisted personnel, that's the highest rank you get to is the E4, which is the specialist. Next thing you have to do is to decide if you want to be a commissioned officer or if you want to be a non-commissioned officer. That is if you have. So if you have interest in the army, like if you have this passion to join the army, if
Mm,
it's your thing, I'll say, you know what, go through the commission route. Because
mm,
as a commissioned officer, you are commissioned for life, right? You can be called up anytime to, for whatever reason to
bear arms,
um sorry?
bear arms for the US.
No, it must not be bear arms to maybe give advice,
Yeah,
maybe based on your
consult.
leadership experience, maybe maybe advisory roles. You
Mm-hmm,
understand? Maybe whatever profession you hold. Then, if you are a surgeon, maybe to help operate on wounded soldiers.
mm-hmm,
You understand? Yeah.
yeah.
So it,
Okay.
it, it, it all depends on your role in
Mm,
the army.
yeah.
If you're an engineer, maybe to help them, to help draw this plan that they're going to use in this country.
Right.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you are
Yeah.
commissioned, and also there's also a payment to that, like, because when you are commissioned, for instance, when you serve the U.S. Army for 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you retire as,
Mm.
you're going to receive that pay till you die.
So if I was being paid like seven
If
thousand
you're
dollars
being if
every
you're
month,
being paid $7,000 every month, they'll be paying you that money till you're dead.
no wonder some of them are chilling in their yacht in Virginia
Yeah,
Beach.
they
Every
will
time
pay
you see
you.
them,
They will
they
be
don't go
paying you that
anywhere.
money. Most of them, they try to work for 20 years, and
Mm,
after
yeah.
that 20 years, they run away, and they will pay them that money till they die. Right. Another thing is this: if you are disabled for
Yeah.
whatever reason, you
Mm,
have a disability. Now, disabled doesn't mean you cannot work again, or you'll be useless for life. Right.
yeah.
It takes for instance, for a mental health practitioner or for a psychiatrist to say, this guy has PTSD. PTSD is a disability on its own.
Mm,
I can't say exact the percentage it is, but it's a disability on its own, and it has a huge percentage on its own.
wow.
Or let's say you tell them, oh, due to being around where gun is being shot or
Mm,
where a weapon is being used, that you hear this ringing in your ear all the time now. I mean, you are the one that feels it, right?
mm-hmm.
You are the one that knows all. It's
Yep.
subjective, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a disability. So most people, before they leave the army, they try and gather these disabilities, and it adds up to maybe 80% disability or more.
Mm,
And what happens? They pay them for the disability. I
wow.
know I know someone. I was told of someone. I think he's originally a Nigerian. I think he's being paid up to $5,000 a month based on disability. And
Wow.
he just chills in Nigeria, comes to get his money, goes to Nigeria whenever he likes, chill. I mean, he has worked for it. He's disabled, based on the rules. So
Mhm.
whatever illness you could serve the army and have a back pain, which definitely, as we age, there are things that come. Once you don't clock 40 now, you will begin, even before that, you might start having this back pain and
Mm,
all that.
mhm,
So those things, if you can relate it to the army, that is because of your work in the army. That's
mm,
a disability on its own.
right.
I know someone who also did 7 months in the army. Before he went into the army, his knees were bad.
Mm,
His knees were bad, but for some reason, they did not detect that before he joined the army. So he did 7 months in the army. He said, seeing the providers in the army because his knee was bad, and that guy is being paid a lot of money for that knee now.
mm.
because he could not continue in the army because of the need, but it was attributed to the army, So there are so many things, there are so many ways, there are so many rules, and depending on what you want to do with it. The thing is that they have providers, they have now when I say providers, I mean doctors and nurse
Doctors and
practitioners
nurses.
or physician assistant who can assess you and say, okay, yeah, this person has this. And because you carry your paperwork, so the army is all about paperwork,
Mm,
documentation. Once you have the documentation and you know that, okay, with this you are entitled to this, then you go get it.
awesome.
you know so there are so many benefits here and there. Education benefit, um student loan forgiveness or
Mm,
repayment. You want to buy a house, there's still that, there are some level of disability you get to, you don't pay
mm,
taxes on house and all that. You don't pay for tolls, you know yeah. So different things, but the most important thing is, before you join the army, you ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this? Because I mean, except you have the passion that, oh, is army that is your calling.
mm,
You understand me? I mean,
mm,
there are people like that just love the army. Why there are people that, they look at what they will get from it before they go into it. Or I'm going into this because at the end of the day, I'm going to get this, this, and this.
mm.
So, yeah.
Wow, thank you so much very much, Mr. Anselm. Thank you so much. I actually know that you have some things prepared for us, but I don't know which you want to do first. You want us to, because I see so many questions flooding the comment section, and I don't know if you want us to take questions from the audience first before go through what you have for us, or you want us to, hear you out first. Maybe some of the things you will say will answer our question. What do you think?
Well, it all depends on the different topics. Maybe by answering the questions, I might even um, say everything I intend to.
You
Because
intend to
when a question is asked, I branch out
branch
and
off.
do other things. So people
Gotcha.
might have specific questions that they want to know
Ask.
about, and I could still branch out at every point in time. So
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So, guys, I know that you have questions and you've dropped your question, but I would like it to be more interactive. It's Nurses Week. I want to hear your voice, your beautiful voices. So, all I need you to do is to raise your hand, and then I'll give you time to ask him your question directly. If you want, you can open your camera. We can see your face. That's also permitted and allowed. We have about 87 people right now. Please, guys, make it 100. We're always more than 100 in this meeting. So let your friends know. And then I said that we're going to have a Nurses Week giveaway. Okay, giveaway is going to be bomb. So just wait for it at the end of the program. I'll call out the person that will organize the giveaway, and then we would elect the winners, maybe some criterias. I don't know what she planned, but we'll see when she gets here. All right. So I have Oga Mbe. Oga Mbe, you can ask your question now. You can unmute yourself. I've asked you to unmute yourself and ask. If you have questions, raise your hand and I will let you unmute. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, here is my question.
Mhm,
Someone in Nigeria right now,
mhm.
is the person able uh, to apply into US Army? You are not in US right now, but you are now in Nigeria. Is there any possible means of applying in US Army? That's my question.
Thank you
To
so
cut the
much.
long oh, sorry, Decency.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
In order for me not to give you a long story, the answer is no.
Wow. Okay. The answer is no. So because you have to do so many security checks and everything, and some of these things, you have to do it in the US. And then somehow, it's an issue of national security. So most times they would consider your allegiance. You're in Nigeria, you're still a citizen of Nigeria. So if Nigeria is to fight the US, you will fight for your country. So they want you to have that, shift on into another country before you can be recruited. Nurse Muri, I think you had a question. If you still have a question, you can come back on, and then I will let you ask your question. And then Nurse Chinwe, you can go ahead and ask your question. If you want, you can unmute yourself now. If you want, you can put on your video.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to ask, and thank you for the information. Please, I would like to ask. You did say there are two major routes if you have a PR or if you're a citizen. So I'd like to ask, for someone that is in the US already, maybe you're working with a H-1B visa, will you be eligible to join the army? Then secondly, I would like to know, is it better? So when I do understand that when we come in with EB3, we have the PR, and then after 5 years, you'll be eligible for citizenship. Is it better to wait to get the citizenship, then enlist so that you can start off on a higher rank? Or is it better to just enlist immediately and go through the ranks and still, get your citizenship immediately? Which one do you suggest or recommend? Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you very much. Before you move to your mic, I want to really be sure of these visas. H-1B visa, what kind of visa is that? And H3, what kind of visa is that?
So H-1B visa is an employment-based visa. It's just
Employment
gives
based.
you work
Okay.
authorization. It's not
Just like the one.
it's
Is
not
it
like
like
the
the
one we have. No, it doesn't
okay
come with green card. It's H-1B only gives you a work authorization
work
for a certain
authorization?
amount. Yes, like for 3 years. But
Okay.
within that 3 years, most of them do apply for the citizenship, and and they get it.
Okay. But the other one is the one that has PR, right?
EB3, yes, EB3 has.
EB3.
Mhm.
So H1B. Now, I like to be straight to the point, right?
Mhm.
You have to be a permanent resident or a citizen before you join the US Army. So with that, H1B does not qualify, right? But still, you can get more information from a recruiter around you. You can always go to your Google map and click US Army recruiter near me or US Air Force recruiter near me, whichever one you want to join. But I'm telling you, based on this information, based on the information I have at hand, things might have changed. You understand? Things might have changed. But permanent resident or citizen. Now, talking about when best to join the army, when best to join. It all depends on what you want to make out of it. So you can decide to wait till you get your citizenship before you join the army. Then how many years are you going to wait? As against joining as an enlisted officer, sorry, an enlisted personnel, getting your citizenship and deciding to apply for deciding to go through the officer's route. So you see, if really you are interested in going through the officer's route, the shortest way of going through it is still by going through the enlisted personnel route. You get your citizenship, then you decide to go to the officer's route. Now, the officer's route you could do, I think there are two different officer's routes. One is ROTC, and I can't remember the other one, but a recruiter would break these things down to you. And age is also a factor because the army, I think the maximum age is 35. I think the maximum age is 35 for you to join the army, but they can give some waivers. They can give some waivers. When I was in training, I've seen a guy of 40 years who just enlisted into the army. So there was a waiver. Now the waiver could be, is this guy still fit to join the army? Or does this guy have any special thing that would make us enlist this guy into the army? So they could give waiver. So you could still wait and get your citizenship and enter as a commissioned officer, which, you know, is actually, it's a nice feeling to just go in there as a commissioned officer. You're going to be more respected than an enlisted personnel. That's just the fact. Being a commissioned officer, you'll be more respected. You won't go through the hassle that an enlisted personnel has to go through. And the only time an enlisted personnel has that bit of respect is when he becomes a non-commissioned officer. But still, as a commissioned officer, NCOs, like, you are a leader. Like, you, even if you are the lowest rank of an enlisted and lowest rank of a commissioned officer, the highest rank of a
Enlisted.
non-commissioned officer,
Mm-hmm.
cannot disrespect you. I mean, are there cases where there's this fight for who is more informed about the army, or who is most, or who has more function, or who is more important? Of course, you will see, but basically, how things are done in the army, the commissioned officer is always, the leader has a leadership role. Is they can give, like, when you come to a unit, there's always a commanding officer in the unit, right? A commanding officer is always a commissioned officer. A commanding officer cannot be a non-commissioned officer. But a non-commissioned officer can be what they call a first sergeant, who is the head of all non-commissioned officer in that unit, but she's still answerable to the commissioned officer. But that she's answerable to the commissioned officer does not mean the commissioned officer is going to disrespect her as a first sergeant or him as a first sergeant. You get the point. There's this mutual respect that exists between the both of them. But when it's about making a decision on which way the unit will go, is the commissioned officer that has the final say. The non-commissioned officer can always give the advice, or if she's not satisfied, she can decide to maybe write to whoever she wants to write to, maybe the battalion head, whoever she wants to see. I'm concerned about this. These are my suggestions, or this is what I've suggested we should do about this situation. But the commanding officer is taking us through a different route. So, there's always that communication between the both of them. Like I said, the non-commissioned officer is the backbone of the army. And the commissioned officer, being the leaders in the army, they depend solely, or they depend strongly on the advice of the non-commissioned officer, because the non-commissioned officer has more, like I said, when someone is the backbone, they are the people that hold the army together.
Mm-hmm.
They are the people that hold the army together.
Awesome. That's good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. I hear you very well. Is better to go through the officer's route when you become, but it doesn't mean that if you are passionate about joining, that you should spend everything and wait for 5 years before you join, because within that 5 years you must have achieved a lot. Because putting in those years is the main thing. Because you are looking at putting in 20 years and you want to wait 5 years outside of the army before you now go in and put in 20 years. That's 25 years, So, but you can put in that 5 years and then be in the army, be within the army, and grow to the officer's route, within the army. So that's one of my take home. I know you have your own take home, but this is for me. All right. That's when I would join, when I have the mind to carry arms. All right. So Fumilayo, you can ask your question now. Thank you so much. You can unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, Boss D.
Good evening.
And happy birthday once again in arrears.
Yeah, she remembered. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Nurse Anselm, or I don't know how to address you. I'm sorry. Good evening, sir.
It's okay.
Thank you very much
Anselm
for what.
is fine.
Okay,
Anselm
good evening, Anselm. Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for what you've given us so far. Please, I want to ask like 2 or 3 questions, or 2 questions, then the third one is just a clarification. But I initially asked that one, but I think I'm not very clear about it. He asked question about, are you earning from 2 sources? Are you being paid, being in the military, and also getting paid in your civilian work as a nurse? So the answer, the response you
Yes,
gave, I'm
yes.
sorry, I'm not very clear about the response. That's one. Secondly, I want to ask, if someone is coming from Nigeria as a veteran, it's either as a non-commissioned officer or as a commissioned officer, already retired in Nigeria, in one of the armed forces in Nigeria. I want to know, is there any benefit for that person if the person either wishes to join the Army or Navy or Air Force over there, or just want to be at the maybe reserve this or whatever? Is there any benefit for the person haven't been served in Nigeria Armed Forces and retired meritoriously or wherever? That's my second question. The third one is, if you are joining the military over there and you are also a nurse, do you being posted out from state to state the way it's being practiced in Nigeria? Because in Nigerian forces, depends on which arm of the forces, they have their particular period of time you are meant to spend in a particular unit, and you'll be posted out. It can be from Maiduguri to Lagos, just like that. Is that also being practiced over there in US? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Fumilayo. Fumi, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I still like to go straight to the point. Yes, if you are in the reserve and you have a job as a nurse, a civilian job, you'll be paid from the army and you'll be paid from your civilian job. If you have to fight taxes, you get W-2 from the army. It's what we call W-2. You get it from the army and you get from your civilian job. So you are paid from 2 sources. Now, veterans from another country, like you said. Now, US Army is US Army. Nigerian Army is Nigerian Army. US Army does not pay. US Army does not pay the Nigerian Army, or US Army does not pay service members of the Nigerian Army. And I don't see what benefit you are going to get. Now, I don't even know if, well, except because Nigeria, will I say Nigerian Army, at times they send them over to the US for training, or even UK for training, or other countries for training, right? So there's this relationship between the Nigerian Army and the US Army when it comes to that. But apart from that, I don't think there's any relationship between serving in Nigerian Army and serving in the US Army. I don't believe there's any relationship. As a matter of fact, the US military might not even admit, they might, because normally when you are filling those forms of, when you're applying, they will ask you questions like, have you ever served in any other country? Or have you been? Now, I don't know why they ask those questions. So I don't know. I've not, and they will not tell you why they're asking those questions. So it might be of benefit, or it might be a disadvantage. I don't know. It might be an advantage to the person, or it might be a disadvantage. That I don't know. But an army recruiter might be in the best position to give you a response, because the army recruiter, all what they want to do is to get people into the army. All what they want to help you as much as you can to get into the army. So they'll package you well. They'll ask you all this. They'll ask you questions, and be free to ask them any question. So anyone that is of disadvantage to you, they'll let you know to drop it. You understand? Because they want to get more people into the army.
Mhm.
So that is it. So if they try to get you into the army, and they record that yes, you've answered that, you've answered well to these questions and you've passed this question. There's still a next step. Once you pass the recruiter's level, the recruiter send you to what we call the MEPs. The MEPs will now do their own assessment. Now, those ones, their own job is to kick you out of the army. They will find out whether you have anything that makes you not to be qualified to join the army, whether it's illness or any disadvantage at all that will make you not to join the army. So their own job is to kick you out of the army. Why? The recruiter, his job is to make sure you get recruited into the army. So that question, very, very important for a recruiter to answer, know if you are at an advantage or disadvantage having served in another country. Then posting from state to state depends on if you are an active duty or a reservist. If you are an active duty, military is your full-time job. You might not even have any opportunity to practice nursing except you are a nurse corps in the army. But if you are not a nurse corps in the army and you want to go active duty, whatever you are doing for the army, you're going to be doing it full time. You won't have any opportunity to practice as a nurse, except you want to do nurse part time or PRN, what we call PRN. Then you are working active duty. But still, the military comes first because it's wherever they want you to be. That is where you are going to be. As long as you are active, the military owns you 100%. Wherever they want you to be is where you're going to be. If they want you to pack your things today and go to Afghanistan, you have to do it. You leave every other thing you are doing and go there. So that is why, as a nurse, I will advise people to join the reserve because it gives you a lot of flexibility. For family, for a civilian job, can easily take vacations, go wherever you want to go to. Or what you know is that you are giving the military 1 weekend in a month. And at times you can even be excused if there are things that needs to be attended to. There's what we call arrest. It's more like an excuse, a permission for you to miss a drill and make it up some other time. So that's, I believe I've answered your question.
Thank you so much, Anselm, for doing justice to that question. Where are all the people that raised their hand? Okay, so if you have question you want to ask, you can raise your hand and ask the question, and then we'll and Ms. Anselm, we have some questions in the comment section. Do you mind attending to them while we wait for people to give us raise their hand to answer questions, to ask questions? Can you see it, or you want me to read it out for you?
Please read it out for me. I can't see it.
Okay. All right. So the first.
Hold on 1 minute. Okay, under the chats, right?
Yes.
Okay, this sense I'll just let you read it because I don't know how. Okay, one question I've seen. I don't know if he's in.
Yeah, I can do it. Nosmuri was asking, say, how do you combine your role as an RN and the military responsibility?
How do I combine my role? So it's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. As a reservist in the U.S. Army, I give the U.S. Army my 2 weekends, my 1 weekend in a month. The rest is I decide what days I want to do my civilian job. It's very, very, it's not difficult at all. For instance, I work 12, let's say I work a 12-hour shift, right? I work a 12-hour shift. I'm obligated to work for whoever I work for 3 days a week. Then the remaining days I'm free. I can decide to work. I can decide to pick up an extra shift, maybe work 4 days a week. The remaining days in the week I'm free. Let's say on the weekend I have drill. I could work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that week. I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday free. The next week I would decide to also have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday free and work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which I've worked 3 days this week, and I've also scheduled myself to work 3 days the next week, giving me about 7 days. And those 7 days off in those 2 weeks, I pick out like 2 days or 3 days to work for the army. And that is basically very, very like easy stuff. It's not something to stress about. It's very easy stuff.
Thank you.
So I believe that answers the question.
Thank you so much. Then Nurse Nana Sapong Richie is asking, is there any age limit to recruitment? I think you did mention that there are age limits, but you didn't tell us the specific age. You said, okay, you said 35, right?
I said 35, but they could give waiver till up to 40 years. And it all depends on what you are doing for the army. How important are you to the army? If you are coming to the army as a nurse practitioner, for instance, they wouldn't say okay because you have 40 years, because what the service you are bringing is different. It does not require you to go and fight in the war front. The service you are bringing in requires you to treat soldiers. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so those things they could waive that age criteria.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. The next question is, can a peri-operative nurse, is from Nurse Murray too. It says, can a peri-operative nurse be recruited in the U.S. Army as an enlisted personnel?
If you are a primary, you are a
Peri-operative
permanent
nurse.
resident.
Okay,
But
if
if
you're
you are a citizen, you will be recruited as a commissioned officer. Now, it doesn't matter whatever you are. What matters is, are you a citizen or a permanent resident? These are the factors that will determine if you can be a commissioned officer or an enlisted personnel.
okay. All right, then Fumilayo is asking, is there any benefit of, okay, I think you've answered that question. She asked it before she asked on the with
Okay.
her voice. So Chinwe is also asking, is it better to enlist right away, shortly on arrival, or wait until 5 years? I think we did answer that question too.
Yeah.
And then we have another person, Fumilayo, is saying, please, I need more explanation on your pay from your civilian and military. So you want to throw more light to it? I mean, you don't have to
It-
give us your own figure, but maybe someone who enters the military as an enlisted officer with minimum requirements, what does the person stand to gain
so so
monetary?
the so when it comes to pay of the army, everything is listed online. They don't even hide it. They tell you everything that they pay everybody from E1, which is the lowest, to maybe 5-star general. You understand? It's online there. Once you go on, but I might not be able to tell you this is that, because it also differs depending on if you are depending on maybe the state you stay in. They could give you some benefits to some housing benefits too, which differ from state to state. They call that I can't remember what they call that, but when it comes to salary per se, everything is online. But when it comes to other benefits, it differs. One, based on where you live. The what they pay you for your housing might be more expensive in California compared to maybe Virginia. Or if you are going to school, for instance, they could pay you additional pay for going to school. It's called you could use your GI Bill. They could be paying you additional pay, tuition assistance for going to school, which adds up to what you get every month. So there are some corner benefits that you grab from the corner. Like I said, housing allowance, tuition assistance, your GI bill. Yeah, all these things also are benefits you get, that is actually different from your pay you get from the army. So I might not be able to tell you, okay, this is the exact amount you're going to get as this. But if you go online now, you can check it online, what they pay this grade of the army or what they pay. Yeah, it's going to show you. Yeah, but of course, it's not going to show you those allowances that they pay them. Like if you are deployed to another country, the allowances they pay you too for being deployed, well, it's not going to state in the army pay that this is what they pay for being deployed.
Okay. Thank you so much. Rita, where are you? Rita is going to be reading out the remaining question, just a few more questions that she's going to read out. I will just step away a little bit and come back. So Rita, go ahead. I stopped in the question from Nana from Ghana, right? Yes, I think that's where I'm supposed to start now. I said, how long is one supposed to be enlisted to gain citizenship? Any age limit for recruitment? That's where I am. Rita, are you there?
Yes, boss, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Boss, you've read out the next question already, so.
Okay. The next
Excellent.
question. The next question. Sorry, I was actually waiting for you to read it out. I didn't know it was what Decency read out. Can you repeat it? Let me pick exactly what the question is.
I can't find it on the comment section anymore on my own page.
Okay, it says it's from Nana. It's from Nana Sapong. It says Richard from Ghana. His name is Richard from Ghana. He said, how long is one supposed to be enlisted to gain citizenship? Any age limit to the recruitment? Did you see it now?
Okay, so
not at all, boss.
Okay, go ahead. Answer them. So how long before you gain your citizenship? As a matter of fact, as soon as you're in training, you see people that come, maybe the first sergeant there will already start, seeing people who have not gotten their citizenship come to this side. You understand? It depends on where on the unit you are in. Like in my unit, some people were faster than my unit, some were slower than my unit. But in my unit, I think the first few days they already started saying those people who want their citizenship come to this side. We came to this side, they will come and pick us up once in a while to fill some paperwork. So before I left training, the basic training, before I left the basic training, which was for about 2 months, I had already applied for my citizenship. I had already received a dedicated number that I can call to know the process of to know how the process is going. Then when I left my basic training, before I got into AIT, because my basic training I took, they gave us Christmas break after the basic training to spend time with family before we went for our advanced training. But some, it's not typical. Normally, what they do is after basic training, they move you straight to advanced training. So I used I used that break I had to do my capturing, do everything. So I was now waiting for them to call me to come for my interview. So because of my advanced training, it delayed until I finished my advanced training. Then I was called to come to my interview for my citizenship, and they gave me my certificate that same day. So it doesn't take time. It doesn't take time. Once you're out of training, just make sure you start the paperwork once you're in training. Yeah. Then the other one is age limit. Like I've mentioned the age limit here before. The age limit is 35 years, except you get a waiver. Now your recruiter will try and get a waiver. They will explore other means in order to get you a waiver. Some actually work out. Like I've seen someone, a 40-year-old guy, who was in basic training with me. So that answers your question.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. The next question is from Timothy. Please, if you dropped any question before Timothy's zone, kindly send again. I can't find it on the comment section. And Timothy's questions goes this way. Good day, sir. What are the requirements for joining the U.S. Navy or Coast Guard as a non-U.S. citizen? I think.
Meaning as a permanent resident, right? Because if you are not a non-US citizen, then it means you are a permanent resident. But if you're not a permanent resident and you're not a US citizen, there's no requirement. You won't be accepted. You have to be one. So as a non-US citizen, meaning as a permanent resident, all you need to do is to call a recruiter, tell a recruiter that you are interested in joining the army or the navy. When you come there, you have to bring proof of your permanent resident, being your green card, your social security card also. If you have any education qualifications, you have to present it to them. Your birth certificate has to be presented to them also. Um, then after you provide those required documents, one very important thing I did not mention here earlier on, you have to take a test called the ASVAB test. ASVAB is ASVAB, ASVAB test. Now, based on your score on the ASVAB test, they will bring out list of jobs in the army that is suitable for that your score. Those in the medicals, they usually want to score high so they can bring out those options for them. Some people might want to choose based on your score, you have to choose whatever job opportunities that they bring out for you based on your score. Then people who look at their score, next thing they want to look at is maybe months they'll spend in training. Like the months I'll spend in training was a big thing for me because I didn't want to spend a long time in training. I wanted to be done with training, come back to my civilian job. So my basic training is standard. Everybody spends the same time in basic training. Now, the length of training I'm talking about is the AIT, which is the advanced training. I spent 6 weeks in advanced training. Some people spend up to 3 months, which is 12 weeks. Some people spend more than that in advanced training, depending on the job you are going to be doing for the army. So your recruiter is going to bring out these things, the list of the jobs and the duration of time it's going to take for you to spend in training for those jobs. So that is all I have to say about that. That ASVAB test is you must have to write it before you join the army.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Okay, the next question is from Abdullah Samandu. It says, is salary paid bi-weekly or monthly?
So for the army is bi-weekly. For the army is monthly. For the army. It's
Okay.
monthly.
Then from Muhammad Azure, his question says, if you're a police officer in Ghana or any African country, can you be given a waiver when you are more than 40 years?
The waiver depends on now. The waiver depends on so many things. The waiver depends on so it could depend on how physically fit you are. So your recruiter is going to discuss those waivers with you and tell you how the waiver can come to play when it comes to you. It's an individual thing. So yeah, some people could be 40 years, but they could be as fit as someone of 20 something years. So that could come to play. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the answer. Next is from Sekin, and I think you've answered that the requirement as usual. but that has been answered. So the next question from Nurse Mori says, "Hi, Cop Nurse Onyeneke. How do you combine your role as RN and your responsibility in the military?"
Okay, I've answered that question already. I
Okay.
think he asked that question. I've answered that question already. I think it was the same guy. Decency has asked that question, which I told him that you as a nurse in the US now, for instance, you have 12-hour shifts you work in a day, and you are required by your employee to work by your employer to work at least 3 days in a week for that 12 hours. And you can decide to work the first 3 days in the week. On the weekend, you have your drill. You can decide to work the first 3 days in the week, which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you can decide to work the last 3 days the following week, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you find out you have like about 8 days in between. If it's a day you have, if it's a weekend, you have your military drill. You have about Friday, Saturday, Sunday to go to your military drill, then rest with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, then go back to work on Friday. So this is how we play around it. It's not even a big. Most times I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I go to drill Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, depends on if it's a 3-day drill or 2 days drill. Then I rest for one day and go back to work. I work in mental health. So some people's work might be that tedious, might be more tedious. They might not be able to do 4 days, but 3 days, 12-hour shift is the standard here. I mean, some people do 8 days shift. Sorry, 8 hour shift. But in that situation, I tell you that your your employer has the obligation to allow you to go for a national assignment, which is your weekend drill. He's going to support you to do that. He's going to provide all required resources to support you in doing that, because it's a national assignment. Then you do your thing and come back. So it's not something people bother about when it comes to combining such. It's not something people bother about. It's very easy to combine.
Okay, guys, I'm
Okay,
back.
sir.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, boss.
Yeah, I just had to step away and do a quick call, but I'm back now. So, I don't know where. I think for some reason Rita was not seeing my questions, the ones that I have here. So, how much time you got? You have?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you can take more questions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. Because there are
Maybe, let me just take the questions before we end.
yeah.
So,
So there's we have one from Priscilla Ijoma is asking said happy birthday, thank you so much. Said, please, is this applicable to nurses outside Nigeria? I would just say no, because I think he has answered it before. Okay. He said, if yes, is it for those that have passed NCLEX only? Actually, not for nurses outside Nigeria. This is a kind of a preparation to prepare your mind. We are trying as much as possible to gather as many information as we can before we get to the US. So this is just to prepare your mind of the journey ahead. I think SLM somehow in your mind, you'll be thankful if somebody did this kind of program and enlightened you about the US military before you got here. But he was able to find all the informations by himself. And then he's now here to help us, save us the steps so that we don't have to go far to look for this information. At least we have it at our fingertips. Okay. So someone else, Zomi is asking, good day, please, is this recruitment applicable to those joining the US Navy? Well, yes, I think is the same format. It's just that they have different branches, but it's still going to be the same format. All right. So I just said yes because my boss was nodding. Okay. So what is the age limit? We've answered that before. All right. So can I combine travel nursing with military responsibilities? Is it possible to combine travel nursing with military responsibility? That
it's very possible. if you plan yourself well, but it's gonna be more tedious than normally if you are okay. For instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I work in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
My unit is about 30 minutes away from where I live. If I was doing travel nursing, it requires me to travel to other states to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know the days my drills are. I know my drill is one weekend in a month. So what I'm going to do is on my drill day, the day before my drill, if I'm not in, I must have planned this before time because I know I'm not in Texas for my travel assignment. I could be somewhere else. Is either I do what we call an RST. So that RST is just for me to reschedule my drill to make it up some other day. Now I could look for a unit close to me and go for a drill there, then get a paperwork showing that I've gone for a drill there. It's going to make up for my drill in Texas here. Or
Getting it?
I could,
It's a very important
or
question.
or I'm going to fly back to Texas and do my drill and fly back to my assignment. So it depends on which one is convenient for you. You can look for a unit close to you because there are units everywhere. Look for a unit close to me. Go for my drill there. It's going to make up for as long as I do my RST in from my unit and have my paperwork showing that yes, I've done this training in another unit. It's going to make up.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. The Roots Achia is asking, please, what is the recruitment process and is the person supposed to be strictly in the US? The answer is yes. I've answered it before. And Nana Sapong is asking a follow-up question. He says, is there any restriction based on body statistics, e.g., height? And I'm adding weight.
So height is not a big thing. Believe me, when I was in training, I saw so many short people there. They don't do because you are this short.
But they don't do Nigerian
No,
method. Nigeria will ask you
no,
to.
because because they believe that there must always be something you can do for the army.
Right, that's true.
You understand me? There will always be something you can do for the army. Then wait. Now they don't encourage people who are obese, but believe me too, I've seen people who are overweight in the army. You understand? People, I mean, I've seen a lot because again, they believe that there's something you can do for them. So they are going to encourage you before you join, bring down your weight to this, bring down your weight to that. But all these things, there are waivers to all these things. There are waivers to all these things.
Thank you so much. This is getting interesting. So Timothy is also well. Let me not say what's in my mind. Timothy said, "Good day, sir." He said, "What is the requirement of joining the U.S. Navy or Coast Guard as a non-citizen?" So he has actually taken care of that question before. I'll just have you go to the next question, which is Abdullahi. Abdullahi is asking, is the salary a bi-weekly salary or a monthly salary? So how are you paid? Is it bi-weekly or monthly?
I've answered that question. Yeah, in the army,
Oh,
I'm paid monthly.
monthly. Okay, then Muhammad is asking, Muhammadu, sorry, is asking if you are a police officer in Ghana or any West African country, can you be given a waiver when you are more than 40 years? And I think your answer to that was no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please, I joined late. What is the requirement? So the requirement is that you have to be in the US. You have to be either a permanent resident or a citizen. Okay, so
And you have to be you have to be physically fit and well. Like
yes.
they are going to examine you in MEPS. MEPS is more like a medical examination center for the army. They
Mm,
have to examine you, make sure that you don't have any illness, any disease, any disability. Because
mhm,
if you have a disability, you might claim it when you come to the army. So they want to make sure that you are well. They will
yeah.
check all your blood tests, even HIV, everything. They will check it. They are going to tell you to do a doc walk to be sure that you don't have any problem with your hips or your knee, anything, you
Duck
have to
walk.
be well. They have to do an X-ray. They have to do ear examination, eye examination, to make sure you don't have any disorder or disability that is going to fall on them when you get into the army.
Wow.
You want to make sure they are getting a healthy being into the army. So, because if they miss those things, you come back and place claim on those things, and they'll pay you heavily for it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I got you, bro. Thank you so much for that. All right, so the next question, somebody's asking, if a nurse becomes pregnant while in the US Army, will they suspend the person? So now, how do you handle pregnancy?
They don't.
Yes.
Now, if they don't do that. Why in training?
Mm,
Why in training? A pregnant person cannot be in training.
mm,
A sick person cannot be in training.
mm,
So those things can either delay your training or it could send you out of the army, right?
right.
But once you're in army now, you can get pregnant now.
I think that's even a smart way of joining the army. If you intend to give birth to 5 children and you're giving birth every 2 years, that's 10 years. The remaining 10 years, you just,
And another thing is this: in the army, they give for fathers, they introduce 3 months active duty, 3 months paternity leave with pay,
okay.
whereby once you are going to be paid and you stay 3 months in the house doing nothing, right? Or
Mm-hmm,
bonding with your child.
mm-hmm.
But in the reserve, they'll give you that 3 months paternity leave, but not with pay. Like now, I've not been to drill in almost 3 months now. This month will be the last month of my paternity leave, you know. So that's one thing too, they do. But not all jobs do that.
Yeah, so he's a new dad. So that's why I was hiding from you guys, but he has brought that himself. So let me say it is congratulations to you.
Thank you, my
Just
brother.
welcome his daughter, recently. So congratulations, bro. All right. So
Thank you, brother.
yeah, so next question says, sorry I joined late. Please, what is the name of the website and how can one get a recruiter to help us with the process? Are you currently in the US? If you are, you can tell me your location. I can take the pains of finding recruiters around you and sending them to you. Okay? Yeah. So if you're in the US, let me know. I would hook you up. All right. So please, is the sound is not audible? Maybe check. Please, are we audible? Rita, can you hear us?
Yes, boss, I can.
Oh,
Clearly.
all right, sounds good. All right. Okay, so now the next question is, please, can you come again with the age limit? Is 35. 35. That's what I heard him say. So when
But
can
there's a waiver. But there's a waiver.
there's a waiver,
So,
yes.
so if you are above 35, all you have to do is you never know until you call a recruiter and
Mhm.
have time with the recruiter. If they can give you a waiver, they will tell you.
Okay. All right. Can see we are recruiting a lot of US Army here. All right. So now we have Luis. Luis is asking, oh, sorry, he just said congratulations, Anselm. So that's that. And then when can one resign upon joining and will the benefits still hold? When can you resign?
So I've seen people who now there's nothing like you have to sign a contract, right?
Mm-hmm,
I've seen people who have signed contract of 2 years just
mm-hmm,
because they want to get their citizenship.
mm-hmm,
You get the point.
mm-hmm,
So that's why they just signed that 2 years. So, but if you sign 2 years, you won't get benefit like someone who signed 6 years, right?
yes. Mm-hmm,
I've seen people who also signed 3 years. So now, if you sign 2 years or 3 years, you can, or even 4 years or 5 years, you can't be called a veteran when you are done with your service, right?
mm-hmm,
Now, except in those 2 years, you were posted on active duty. Let's say you were deployed for at least 3 months, then you can be called a veteran. Because once you have served actively for 3 months, you can be
mm-hmm.
called a veteran.
Okay.
Now, but if you're just doing your active duty, no deployment for 2 years, you can't be called a veteran. Or 3 years, you can't be called a veteran. Except you do it for 6 years, then it's going to count for you as a veteran.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, so you can sign 2 years contract, because I know there are some people that just want to come rush, get their citizenship immediately, and maybe do whatever they want to do with it. So you can sign for 2 years and get it. And yeah, I've seen contracts like that. I didn't know there was one until I know a friend who signed for 2 years. Another one signed for 3 years. I signed for 6 years. So
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. So now we have one person at ICT. That's your name. I'm going to ask you to unmute and ask your question, and then you'll be the last person for today to ask question. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, boss.
You're
Happy
welcome.
birthday in arrears, Mr. Aslam. Congratulations, and thank you for your time.
thank you.
So I just want to ask this one, because I know that's one fear that most people have, that if I join the military, they'll send me to war. So are there options that when you are getting into the military that you can, say, I wouldn't want to go to war, or are there people they actually send to for such assignments? And if somebody is in the war front and maybe there's need for paternity, are they going to send the person back to come and experience that paternity? Maybe the person is far away in Afghanistan and all that. Thank you.
Thank you very
Very
much.
important
So
question. Thank you for bringing that up.
So in the army, there are different job descriptions in the army. If you choose to be in the infantry, it means that you want to fight war, you want to carry gun and go and fight war, right? Now, that does not mean that even if you sign up under any other company, if there's need, they cannot, train you, because you're in the army. They can always train you for a purpose. So there's nothing like signing of anything that, oh, I will not go and fight war, I will not deploy. As a matter of fact, if they give you orders to go fight, to go anywhere, to deploy to anywhere, and you refuse, now you can be imprisoned, because you can't. The government owns you. The U.S. government owns you. So I'm going to be very, very clear. If you want to join the army, there's no place you sign anything that, oh, you will not go and fight war, or if this happens, you will not go. If they need you, you go wherever they want you to go to. Now, I've seen people who have done their 6 years without going anywhere. I know people who have done their 6 years from beginning to. There was one that as I was coming into the unit, he was leaving. He has never been deployed to anywhere. Because like I said, everything is paperwork. Everything is paperwork. I think when they wanted to deploy him, what happened? I think he lost his mom or so. And he provided paperwork showing that he lost his mom and is not in the right state of mind to be deployed. Even though he was not being deployed to go fight war, he was being deployed to just carry out another assignment. So there are people who, if you bring a proof that you are not fit enough to go for deployment, you won't go for deployment after they must have done their own assessment, right? But like I said, everything is paperwork. What evidence do you have to back up what you're doing or what you're saying is wrong with you? So yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Hello, Mr. Asylum. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I don't know how to thank you. I'm running around
Brother.
preparing for our giveaway. Our giveaway will be coming out shortly. If you have any question, I think we're actually done with the questions. So I want to, Ms. Anselm, if you have any last remarks or last minute word for us, there's been, the reason why I'm doing this program every week is I try as much as possible to encourage our nurses that are still back home because of the retrogression. There's a lot of challenges. So this is a place for us to save our time, save ourselves time in the future. You understand? So we come here, we get some knowledge so that when we get into the US, we are flying. We're not just coming here to start making mistakes. And so if this is for you, if the US Army is for you, get ready, get in the program. If you have not written your NCLEX, continue, get your NCLEX done. Once you get into the US, you can, shunt into the US. There's another thing also that happened. I think during our own time, someone opted for the military after joining an agency and came into the country. The person opted for a military, and it was active service. And because it was active service, the agency was obligated to release that person. So there was no breach of contract fee. There was nothing, because it was a national service. So the person was just released to go and join. I'm not saying you should go and break your contract or join, but I'm just throwing it out there because I know someone that did that and it worked for them. So have you guys been hearing me all along?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I know someone that did that and it worked for them. So, just to put it out there. All right. So if you have any last minute word for us, like I said, people that have written NCLEX and passed, they are here. People that have not written NCLEX are here. People that are still planning to, they are here. People that, have gotten IDs. Like last week, IDs were dropping, interview dates, they were dropping left, right, center. So people that have gotten IDs are also here. So, one simple word that would suit everybody. So thank you, sir.
So what I'll say is this: before you join the army, like I said earlier on, some people think that they have passion. There's this passion I have to be a uniformed personnel or a uniformed officer. I've always had this passion. But if you're not that person, what I'll tell you is whenever before you join the army, ask yourself, what do I stand to benefit from this? What do I want to get out from this? And if you can answer that question, I don't know why you want to join. But if you can answer that question and it ticks on, you could tick all the questions that it answers, or your reason answers that question properly. Like I said, some people might want to join the army because of some benefits like, oh, I'll get my citizenship, I'll be respected wherever I go to, which I mean there's that part. For example, there are some little things like you go to some places, if you're identified as maybe a US military member, or you're identified as a veteran in the US Army or in the US military, they thank you for your service. They recognize you and thank you for your service. When you want to fly you want to fly to anywhere in the US on any airline, they recognize the US military personnel first and allow them to take a seat in the plane first before any other person. Um, you want to go to school, they give you tuition assistance, and they also have things like GI Bill, which can also pay for your school fees or your wife's school fees or your kids' school fees. They have what they call VA loan to buy a house, where you make 0% down payment, and I think also is interest free, I believe. There's also what they call some disability allowance they pay you if you are disabled in the US Army, depending on the percentage of disability. They could pay a lot. There are a lot of people that are doing nothing and just living off disability. Also, if you do a number of years, like 20 years, they pay you exactly that amount of money you're receiving for the rest of your life, you know. So you look at the benefits and ask yourself, is it worth it? Is this what, do I want to do this or not? If it's something you are convinced that yes, I mean, I'm gonna benefit a lot from the army, then And all these things are things that they do to attract people into the army too. And of course, people are taking advantage of these things. Like I said, everything is paperwork. Everything is paper. What most people target to do before they leave the army is to get disabled. Now, I know when I say disabled, some of you will see it as a bad thing. Why do you want? Like I said, anything that is wrong with you can be a disability. If from shaving your beard, if you are you're on active duty, for instance, or your unit insists that you shave your beards and you have bumps from shaving your beards, that is a disability, you know. Or you're lifting weights in training, doing anything, you complain of back pain or anything, even if you have that back pain before and they don't know about it, but you claim that you developed that in your training, that is a disability, you know. So there are different ways you can claim disability, and the army is going to pay you for it. Like I said, you have to have your paperwork. Everything is paperwork. So before you join the army, ask yourself, what do you want to get out of the army? There are a lot of people that are going to the army and come out without getting anything from it because they did not define what they want to get out of it and how to go about it. There are a lot of people that joined the army and they came out very prosperous because they were able to achieve everything they went in there for. They were able to, some people, the army paid for some people to study medicine, paid for some people's school. They came out and they are surgeons now. They are in different specialties now because the army paid for their school. You know, I have different examples of people who the army paid for their school and they are done with the army, but they are living a very soft life now. So you should know what you want to achieve and you know how to go about it. So these are my last words. Thank you, Decency, for putting me up in this program.
Thank you so much.
I hope all of you have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. I don't know how to thank you, boss. You don't know what you did for us today. The information is priceless, because these are things that people will come here and read all the books and they won't find it. And, but it's a first-hand experience. You are not reading from any paper. This is something, you experienced yourself and all that. So thank you. We appreciate you. God bless you. Someone is asking for your social media handle so they can follow you. So is it Nana? Is there any way social media link to follow the presenter, please? So if you have any social media link and you want people to follow, you can drop it on the comments.
Let me see. Hold on 1 minute.
Okay, so Evie has a last minute question, and because it's Nurses Week, I've made up my mind that I'm not going to reject any request from any nurse. Okay, so bring in your request. I'll give it to you. So Evie, ask your question. What's your question? You can raise up your hand and ask your question so I can allow you to unmute. Okay? So there's a chance for last minute question. But while Evie is getting ready for the question, I want you guys to appreciate our presenter. It's not easy. It's not easy to be in two jobs and be a new dad and still find time to come for this program. I mean, it's a lot of sacrifice, and you've earned my respect today. I want to appreciate you for coming on board and helping us out, in this particular topic. God bless you. All right. So if he has a question,
thank you, my brother. Also, my wife I will thank you for
holding the baby.
I'm telling you. Man, bro,
Yeah.
holding baby is a big work. Oh.
I know now. I have 4.
It's serious work. Oh my God.
This thing you're going to, this is number 1.
Yeah.
I've done it 4 times. Okay,
brother.
So I know what you're talking about. Okay. All right. So Evie, unmute yourself and ask your question. I've asked you to unmute. All right. And yes, if you drop that your link on the comment section for people, they are also sending their appreciation over there. If you cannot unmute, I don't know what else to do. We're going to have to turn down your request. I'm sorry that I have to do that. But you know, that's the much we can do. I tried to, you know, I've asked you to unmute and it's not working. All right. So, Mr. Anselm, thank you so much. God bless you. All right.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you for doing this for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's see.